Scoundrels web series and podcast is filmed and recorded in their ship the Centurion Vulture and may contain language not suitable for all. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome, y'all. We're the Scoundrels.
Guilty as charged.
We're flying in. And Centurion Vulture. Curtis over there has done a couple modifications himself. Made it nice and slick. He's always
Curtis
working
Lane.
on it.
Hell yeah.
My name's Chris Gingrich.
Paul Bannister.
Curtis Wayne Millard standing by.
What are we? We are three grown-ass men.
Grown.
Grown as fuck, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I'm old.
No, we don't want to throw out numbers just yet.
No,
they'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out.
Point is,
in space, it doesn't
we're not
matter.
children.
Yeah.
In case you can't tell.
You'll be able to figure out when I talk about release dates and shit.
Yes.
You'll be able to reverse engineer my age.
This is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're three grown-ass men, and we're going to talk about Star Wars.
Absolutely. I think the big thing about Star Wars is it has had a profound impact on all of us. And most people, I think it's one of those movies where you say, like my wife who's never seen it,
Which is the whole topic we'll get into later.
Yeah. You've never seen Star like it. I don't think there's a lot of movies that her big reason why she won't watch it is because she loves the response she gets when she says she hasn't watched it. And I don't think there's a lot of movies like that where you'd be like, "What do you haven't seen?"
No,
like,
that's a good point.
It pisses people.
I mean,
off.
how many franchises exist
Yeah.
that whether you've seen it or not, the world over, everyone's at least heard of or knows what Star Wars is?
Oh yeah.
Right?
We have a mutual friend named Noelle. And she said, "And you're still together with her?"
Yeah.
And like it was like, and it's just hilarious.
It's a valid question, to be fair.
But
Yeah.
it's also funny for me, just in my experience growing up. My brother, who's older, who's there, he was at all the releases. He saw them all in the theater.
Yeah.
His love for it transferred to me.
Yep.
And it's just embedded in you. Like you pick up a remote control. Every time I pick it up, I pretend I've got a lightsaber. So it's just I don't think I could think of any other movie or franchise that does that on a daily basis, where everyone go to the grocery store, you try to open the doors. Like I don't think there is, and it's an interesting movie or a series where it's like the three are so good, and yet there's so much bad about
there's a lot
it too.
to unpack here.
Yeah, there's some weird shit.
To say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it's going to get divisive. I mean, we can even start to go into for me. I am one of those people, and we've all talked about this before, but we can do it again for everybody else.
No, we need to.
I hate everything about the prequels. I don't think that I do my best to pretend as though they don't exist. It's not just that I think that they're dog shit films, which I think they are. I actually think that they do damage and undo some of what made the original special. That doesn't mean I can't still watch the OG trilogy and enjoy it as much as I always have, but when there's new stories that I'm supposed to accept as being just as relevant from a storytelling standpoint, we all midichlorians and this fucking dog shit. Like, this is not what Star Wars is.
What about Jar Jar Binks? He was good.
Binks.
Fart jokes and
fucking
all that.
Binks.
It's just so bad. And I know some people, and maybe y'all, and we can talk about this, there are moments in episode 3 that people like the transformation. But I honestly, there's not one moment in those movies. I take that back. The lightsaber duel and Phantom Menace.
Hold on.
Is
Darth Maul.
That shit is badass.
Duel of Fates is heavy.
The song, the doors opening, that was, I think, it was the greatest. It's the greatest lightsaber battle in Star Wars.
Correct.
In fact, that's the one thing. Oh, I want to hear that after this. But it's the one thing I think that that lightsaber battle. You watch that lightsaber battle, and then you go watch A New Hope.
Oh,
Vader
man.
and Obi-Wan.
Pretty adorable.
It's like
Alec Guinness doing those dusty ass spins.
It's like, ugh. And you can actually
geriatric spins.
And the old because they're such old, you can actually see the lightsaber like where the effects don't work anymore.
Stick.
It's like
Dude, they didn't fix that effect forever.
But
Like they kept that in for a lot of the special editions. I'm
But
like,
at the time, it was huge.
y'all gonna put a beak on the fucking Sarlacc, but you can't, but you can't fucking fix his Obi-Wan's goddamn dusty ass saber.
Yeah, no
the
shit.
clam. They made the Sarlacc but a clam monster.
Yeah, that felt bad.
Well, I remember
Yeah, that's
being a
whack.
kid and not like I think for me not seeing the original ones in the theater, but having that excitement from my brother and like this growing energy for Star Wars. I had all the toys.
Yeah.
I do choreographed fucking lightsaber battles in our backyard.
Yeah.
And I remember the excitement to go see those movies. And I remember after the first one being like confused, like, wait, it just didn't really feel like Star Wars. And I think that's a big thing is like with shows now coming out, it's like, does it feel like Star Wars? And I think like The Mandalorian was one of the things that brought me back because I almost gave up on Star Wars. I was almost like, there was the original's so good.
Yep.
I mean, it stays with you. It's profound in that sense of where it's like it just hits you right in your heart, and the story's good. But all these other things that just don't feel like Star Wars. But The Mandalorian was like one that was like, this feels like Star Wars.
Felt a little bit like a reclamation, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, I don't know if this is amazing, but I do feel like I'm in the world again.
Yes.
And that felt great.
Yeah, because I mean, I was gonna maybe because my guard was down. I was like, I don't care anymore. I was so sick of things that just weren't like that gave me those feelings. It's just disappointment after like even the original. And I remember thinking, oh, but when we get to Darth Vader in these original trilogies or the 1, 2, and 3, it's gonna make up for all this. It's like, how did he get the name Darth Vader? And he was just like, you'll be Darth Vader. It's like, well,
it's so on the nose. Like, the whole thing when he's like, no, it's like a bad fucking cartoon.
For some reason, that no doesn't make me as upset, but it is a little weird.
Yeah,
oh man.
I mean, he was still human in that sense. I mean, it's his first time in a machine body.
He did just find out his old lady's dead.
Yeah, and
there's just nothing for me artful or not that it was supposed to be a subtle moment. I don't know, honestly, just imagine that scene in the hands, and I'm not going to say J.J. Abrams is the coming of Christ.
No.
But that exact scenario in the hands of Abrams would have felt exponentially better.
Yes. I think I was excited when I heard that he was going to do 7, 8, 9. And I remember seeing the trailer. I mean, we were all watching that at your house, and it was just like, holy shit.
We're back.
If anyone's going to do it, it's J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
Like who's going to make this? And again, you're excited, and then disappointment. Like I don't want to say they were terrible, but there's such a high standard for these movies. Like the original is like, I don't know. It's like, to me, it's like I question. It's like, holy shit! Like these are so good, and the standard's so high, and you'd think like all these modern day in the story, they're trying to force things in that just don't fit. And I worry about like how many times we do this. And I was talking about Curtis is like, this Obi-Wan series is a big deal. It's got a lot of weight on its shoulders.
If they shit the bed on this one.
I mean, it's like, because if everything's supposed to be canon and if everything's supposed to be linked up, this is truly the most important, because The Mandalorian's one thing because it's a separate world, and that's the beauty of it.
Stakes are low.
Yeah.
It's like you're not going to be messing with like
somewhere else. It's like, but I thought their incorporation when they brought in Luke was so badass.
Yeah.
And it was just little tidbits of it. But when they did it in Boba Fett, I was like, this is stupid.
I didn't mind him in Boba Fett, but season 2 Mandalorian Luke was like, that was one of my top fucking 5 Star Wars moments.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's all we ever wanted to see that motherfucker do, is to bust somebody's ass with a green lightsaber.
Exactly.
And they didn't do it in the new trilogy. They
Yeah,
didn't
it's
do
like
it in 7, because it was like, I was so mad when like Luke just threw it was like at the end I didn't love The Force Awakens, but the ending when they had Luke turn around, I was like, oh yeah. It's gonna get, here he comes.
It was tough,
and it was like, it was a hard sell for me for him to just kind of throw it away. I was like, come on, I just want to see Luke kick ass. I just want to see Luke Skywalker.
Apparently that's what everyone wanted to see.
Yeah. So for me, prequels, the worst. Sequel trilogy, pretty good. I'm not jumping up and down. There are moments that I think are some of my favorite Star Wars moments. That moment when in Force Awakens, when Rey pulls the saber to her for the first time, and the Force theme swells. I get goosebumps right now talking about it. I'm that kind of nerd. Look at this.
There's no gravity here, and you're raising up.
That's what I'm saying.
Goosebumps.
So that shit
like
is great. Obviously, there's a lot of imperfections, and we'll dive into that in future episodes. So, sequel trilogy, I'm not mad at. Prequels, fuck you. OG is great. The shows, it's kind of like you said. There's some things that are good. I've got some concerns. I haven't watched a single minute of an animated series.
No.
I don't read comic books or the books. I don't know that I care that they exist, but I have no interest, and I get concerned now that they're incorporating some of these things into the new series, that it's going to start to chip away. My sensitive spot with Star Wars is anything that feels like it undoes the story that we've known to love for decades. So if it starts to feel like that, I start to get a little sort of like, what are we doing here?
Like, I mean, do you watch?
I
dived into the animated series.
I've seen some episodes. Anytime like there's like Vader or something, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Like Rebels to me was kind of cool. I didn't finish it though, but anytime Vader comes in, I'll check it out to see like how they treat him.
Yeah.
I couldn't really get into the Clone Wars. I don't love the prequels, but I don't hate them.
Yeah.
Like the best way I've heard it described is like the prequels are an amazing story with like bad filmmaking and storytelling, and like the sequel trilogy is like kind of a whack story with really good filmmaking.
That's a very good point.
It's kind of like a weak ass story if you got like Disney money and a lot of time and resources and
no shit.
all this shit just sort of like it just didn't seem like they planned it out. And that's like
hire the best screenwriters on the planet.
Like it would be better off if fucking episode what is it? Like what episode number is Revenge or The Last Jedi?
That's
8, right?
8.
Yeah.
If 8 had not even come out yet and they just stuck the landing, it would still be fine.
Yeah.
It would be better because like man, then people would be like. The investment is like for people to be invested.
Yes.
Like not to get the fucking movie out fast.
Yeah, I think that is the thing. I think they tried to push and like I was kind of like excited with Mandalorian, and then they took on Dave Filoni? They took
Filoni and Favreau. We should also mention this to anyone watching or listening. We don't claim to be the biggest Star Wars experts in the world. We have a deep love that we share, and we've been talking like this for years, and now we're finally doing it for other people to listen to because we're fucking narcissists.
Yeah.
But
with a little special
or maybe
sauce.
speaking for myself. But if there's shit that we're getting wrong, or if y'all are listening to this and you know something that we don't, by all means go to the comments or whatever and tell us some shit. Ask some
blow
questions.
our ass up.
Yeah, blow our asses up because we are not the experts.
No.
At all.
We're just really into the shit.
Yeah. Well, it's good, and it's like you said. I think there's so many distracting moments in the first trilogy where it was like, I thought like
prequels.
The prequels. Yeah, prequels, where like young Anakin, baby Anakin. I thought he was such a bad. Like it was distracting. I was like, this little guy's supposed to be Darth Vader.
Yeah.
This kid is Darth Vader. But
they didn't stick the landing.
I go through every moment in that, and even to this day. And granted, I've seen them multiple times, but then I haven't watched a prequel all the way through in 15 years. But could you sit down right now and walk me through the plot of that trilogy with all the politics and the clones, and they're going to this planet? I remember even while watching them, thinking,
I think I could.
What the fuck is going on?
More
here?
or less.
There's Jango Fett and there's clones, and I'm not saying I couldn't eventually figure it out. But also, let's be real. Star Wars is basic shit.
Yes.
It's part of what makes it work. It's good versus evil. The second anyone has to like figure out or think hard about what's going on, they're already starting to fuck up. In my mind. Anyway.
Me too.
I think it's that's why I think it's a simple story. It's good and evil. A kid. I think we could all like being that kid, maybe from a small town.
Yeah.
Who had bigger dreams. Wanted to be more. It felt like he was more than what he was, and it's just. I think everyone dreams about making a change or making a difference, but I mean the first one is the prequel trilogies of just being like very political. I think the whole purpose was how the Emperor gained. How he became the Emperor.
Sure.
How he was able to kind of manipulate the entire galaxy into. Making him the Emperor.
They got a little in the weeds, I think. On some of
and it was just a lot. I think there was a lot going on. It's like almost in over his head. And I actually don't know the meaning of why George Lucas did it. Do you all know why he did
how much time
4, 5, 6? Like, did he have that script written for those movies before?
Oh no,
he did?
he said he had like an outline.
I
of
would
how it was
say
supposed to happen,
an outline.
Yeah, he definitely didn't have like screenplays for the prequels back when he did the originals.
I just find that such a fascinating, like, as like a, I don't know, as a filmmaker, I know, Curtis, that's just such a crazy idea. Be like, you know what? I'm just going to come out with this movie and it's going to be episode 4.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
everyone must be like, what did I miss? Yeah.
They didn't actually tag that on until
didn't.
It made a ton of money, and you know, obviously, and he ended up like retaining a lot of the rights to the sequel.
I didn't know that.
It made a ton of money, so he was like, I mean, I do believe he did write a big ass story and be like, let's just make this, but it made a ton of money and was like, all right, now we're gonna add these episodes on, and to put in 5 is crazy, or 4,
yeah.
That is fucking. That's a pretty baller ass movie.
So if you went to the theater in '77, it didn't say episode 4.
No, it wasn't until like the 3rd theatrical release that they tagged that on.
No shit.
Wow, I did not know that.
Wow.
Yeah, they re-released it a few times, like with Empire Strikes Back, with Return of the Jedi. There's like a 70mm release.
So when you say the 3rd time they re-released it, does that like pre-Empire? Like when Empire first came out, did it say episode 5?
It did.
I got it.
And even one of the re-releases before Empire actually hit, they tagged on the episode. Onto the crawl.
Because we're all a similar age. You know, we'll just say 40-ish.
Yeah.
To where, like you and I think, and you mentioned this earlier, I don't have a memory of seeing Star Wars in the theater as a kid.
No.
But like you, it was a familial handoff. I don't have a memory as a kid of Star Wars not being in my life. I was born in '82, so of course there was still one left to come out, but I was too young to see it.
Yeah.
But my cousins had that shit dialed in. Like I've always, I don't have, like I said, I don't have memories without Star Wars in it. But for me, special edition was a big deal because it felt like a chance to have that moment of going to the theater.
That's what I was going to say.
Star
My first
Wars.
Is when they did the re-release.
Oh man, it was so exciting.
You added in all the things. You added in the Jabba scene in A New Hope. And I remember getting the VHS. I had both the VHS of the original trilogy, and then when they did the... But they came out after the prequels. Because I remember it was a big deal that they added in Hayden Christensen instead of Homeboy as Darth Vader.
Well, no, that's not... Is that true?
I don't know. Maybe they did
the first special
editions
edition
were in the 90s.
like in '97. It was just out on VHS or whatever. I don't think they threw Hayden in. Oh, actually, they probably
they did it for the VHS re-release.
Like it was like a DVD situation,
right? It was like the home.
They did it. Yeah, you're right. They didn't do it in the theater.
Right.
But they did it when they came out with the box set. Yeah. They threw them in there and everyone was pissed.
That's me. It goes back to that like irrational level of anger I get when they fuck with the originals.
I was like, why would you? Yeah.
And
I don't like that.
It's only in the last handful of years that we can even buy the original untouched trilogy, right? Yeah. Like for the longest time, Lucas would
I don't
not
think you can do it.
No,
those.
I think I actually need to find.
No, you can. It's
my
part of,
original box set.
The original versions are in the... I have them somewhere. Like in the last handful of years, they did a digital release where they finally relented, and the original non-special edition versions.
Oh, those would be sweet.
Curtis, you said you have like a tiny memory of seeing one of the originals in the theater, right?
I wasn't old enough to actually. I wasn't even born when the first one was on the theaters, but every time the new one would come out, like Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, they would re-release it.
Yeah.
So I was just barely old enough to go to it's the first movie I ever saw in a theater.
Yeah.
In looking like 1980, whenever Empire Strikes Back came out, I was like in a very, very, very impressionable age. So it was like so imagine Star Wars being the first movie going experience. So it really like when you're that age and you're so formidable and there was hardly any media in the 80s, like you saw television and that just really.
Well, you're a filmmaker now, so clearly had some sort of...
Yeah, well, I think it's probably the reason why I dabble in making films and all this stuff is because of like that, like, I think at a certain age, no matter what you see during those formative years, it'll kind of like become a part of your DNA. And thankfully, it was like Star Wars and not some like weird porn or something.
Yeah.
A whole different podcast.
So I saw every single one in the theaters. And Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi was actually like the first release.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fucking cool. It was great memories, man. Yeah. And I had all the damn toys, and we'll probably show y'all some of those and some segments and whatnot. And it's been a big part of my life, man.
That's the thing that's so great and universal about it, right? Is you can go to like we could go to fucking Singapore and we'll find other Star Wars nerds that could geek out with us for hours. I mean, when episode 1, to be clear, I hate the prequels now, I fucking slept on the sidewalk for 4 days.
Oh
from
yeah,
the Phantom
I was
Menace.
pumped.
Local news came
Yeah.
out and talked to all of us. I was
I
that
was
guy.
fucking
I saw that
stoked.
shit like 6 times. I think I was in denial and I was trying to make myself
Yeah.
love it. And it took a half a dozen viewings in the theater on Phantom Menace before I finally was like, nah, dog, this ain't it.
There isn't a movie that I've seen in the theater more times than Phantom Menace
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
exact same reason. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Trying to pick up things. Well, I remember being confused by it. I was like, I know that's Obi-Wan Kenobi, but and I think it was just being that they was like, but it doesn't feel like it's Obi. Like it's just like I remember being, you're so familiar with the characters. Like I mean, in the original trilogy, like you just know all the characters. So I remember bringing that excitement and that just kind of energy into seeing that and being kind of like, who is this? Who's like it's like but like all these new people.
Yeah.
And it did look different. Like I think CGI does kind of make it. And it was like
man.
it just looked different. And I think that's
It was a fucking cartoon.
yeah.
Those
And I
movies are
can't. That's why I
goddamn
can't
cartoons.
get in. And I go back to like the way Star Wars feels. It's like I can't get into
Tactile.
the cartoons or the animated series because it's too. It doesn't feel like Star Wars. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's just like this. It's got like that crazy like introduction this week on Star Wars. Like it's it's very
it's
like
it's a whole other thing, man.
yeah.
Lucas
People
seems
love that shit though.
Yeah.
People fucking
people
love that.
love it. People will lose it.
Yeah,
Will probably
and more
get a
power.
lot of
I wish I
pissed.
fucking dug it.
I tried to get it, and I just couldn't.
Yeah, I know it's hard. It's hard not to because you're right. So much of your growing up, and you turn everything into a lightsaber, or how many times are we trying to move a remote control with the Force? But that that world seemed so real that it conjured that imagery in your head. You felt like you could reach out and pick up a thing, and then by the time you get to the prequels and the animated series, it just feels like there's this wall between you and that world. And you don't. It's harder to put yourself in that space in your brain from a, like a kind of escapism. It makes the escapism a little more difficult.
Yeah, that's true because it's more believable in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
It seemed more attainable.
Yeah.
And now in like those, it doesn't like.
It's fantasy, but it looked like you could be standing
and
there.
it's like the coolest.
It's all practical
superpower
effects, man.
in the world.
Yeah.
And I think it's like if you could have any superpower, like just being able to the Force and just like just be able to do shit like that.
I mean, that's kind of where, for me, the sequel trilogy starts to get some things right. Like, Abrams was smart enough to realize, hey, let's go to this island and film in this place where it's an actual location.
Yeah.
They did so much better with that.
Those two the first two felt pretty tactile. And The Mandalorian, I say they do a pretty good job, especially with a lower budget of mixing.
I think the Mandalorian, out of everything, I think the Mandalorian looks more like Star Wars.
It's updated and modern. They use modern cameras. But it still feels tactile.
Well, they also do a great job of inserting small fan service moments of like, IG-88's in there or some version of that. Or, Tatooine looks familiar.
Carbonite. Yes. Exactly.
Jawas and this, that, and the other.
They bring in those small details of things that you like. Like
everyone
Yoda, everyone loves Yoda. It's like, well, let's bring in
Yeah,
like
all the nerds get like Star
Yoda.
Wars
Fucking baby
boners every
Yoda.
time you see
Slam
this
goddamn
shit.
dunk.
Like, come on, right? It's like
it's great.
I even loved in the. It was basically a Mandalorian episode in Boba Fett, but when they brought out the Naboo starfighter, I was like, oh,
I know.
yeah.
So my prequel sensitivities at first, I was like, no, you keep that shit out of here. And I'll give them credit. By the end of the episode, when it was, they did their whole thing, and it was kind of like the punk rock.
Yeah.
It worked.
Like
It
they
was-
put it
I was
together.
into it.
I was like, I see what you did there.
I love
like
it.
It worked.
Because it all we have to believe that it's all connected.
Yeah.
It's like or else it doesn't work, and there's just so much like.
For all the goddamn changes they made to the original trilogy, can y'all just go back and fix that busted ass CGI in fucking Revenge of the Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith? Dude, I went to watch New Hope last night and it accidentally by some glitch put on Revenge of the Sith. I was like, let me ride with this motherfucker to see what's up. And there's some shit there that's actually glorious, but there's so many effect shots and CG is so. Like computer generated stuff that's so new. It's like they couldn't keep up. Yeah. It's like you're 5 minutes into this. It's like a shot that a YouTuber could do better.
Yeah.
Well, that's the
now.
Yeah,
it's exactly. It's funny that they haven't gone back and touched those up.
Yeah,
I mean,
Lucas has probably got some sort of clause. Like
that's
y'all ain't touching this shit.
He got crazy. He almost went like psychopathic with like. He got really into CG. Like, I remember like with the prequel trilogy, and then like I say, he redid the original trilogy. And I was like, you don't need like some kind of beast that looks like a cartoon inside of him. But he was like, he thought this was the forefront. I guess for him, it's like in the sense of like he was on the forefront of just technology and effects with the original Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think he felt the same way with CGI.
Yeah.
It happens
he
when
thought that was the new like way of doing it.
Like an artist with an infinite palette, and
Yeah.
then you realize maybe some limitations on the palette actually were a good thing.
I think restrictions can help people out, man.
Well,
If
it forces
anything
you to
that
be-
pops in your head and you could do, like
Yeah.
maybe that's not. Sometimes, just some good old fashioned restrictions like helps you be creative within those restrictions.
Well, it's universally understood how much the visual effects in Star Wars created. I mean, ILM became what it was. I mean, they pioneered things in those movies, not because they they wanted to, but they also had to, because the budget was small and they had to figure it out.
Yeah.
And, and if they had CG at the time, they would have done it all.
Oh, yeah.
But it wouldn't have felt the same.
Some of those updates they did are actually good. Some of those we should go at some point and talk about what changes actually work for it, because some of the things actually work. I mean, there is some
You're talking about special edition changes?
special edition. Yeah, there is some pretty wacky.
Oh, for sure.
The first one, New Hope, there's some pretty wonky stuff.
Fixing the speeder was good.
Yeah.
I remember that. Like those little. I think it's like the subtle. Yeah. Like
the X-wing moves in the Death
those
Star
are
fight
cool.
were great.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff, honestly, in the special edition of A New Hope that I wasn't upset about.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
of it was good.
There's more of the creatures that I like.
Yes.
That just I don't think that anything that takes you away. I love when I watch it and get the lights down and get my popcorn. It's an event.
Yep.
And you want to kind of immerse yourself
Amen.
into it. So anything that doesn't seem believable to me is hard for me to accept.
Takes you out.
Yeah.
In a movie. So it's like, well, that's obviously just a CGI beast walking across. Like
It's hard for CGI to age well.
Yes.
And Christopher Nolan says that a lot. He's like, it might look. He's like, it just most of the time it just doesn't age well.
Yeah.
Even if it looks amazing at that moment in the theater, you 10 years later, you're like, because Jar Jar was a technological.
Oh yeah. At the time, it was huge.
To me, it's just like, don't experiment with Star Wars though. Go
exactly.
fuck around.
That's a very good point.
Fuck
Yes.
around and
Yes.
experiment with your like young Indiana Jones series or whatever, and like keep Star Wars. It's like Martin Luther going and fucking with the Bible, man. People are going to get pissed off.
Well, Star Wars fans have such a complicated relationship with George Lucas, right? Because obviously he's the greatest. He created this thing that we all love and nerd out and do these kinds of things and talk about. But he also did so much damage for a chunk of time with it. And also it seemed like for a while post prequels in his interviews, it seemed to me anyway that he got a little defensive about it.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's
like you
upset.
said, he kind of doubled down on this
Oh, no.
stuff. And it's like,
Yeah.
this is my this is what the films are at this point. They were only
Those
like that
people-
before because of limitations. Like, oh, that's fine. But you do recognize that the world over has a relationship with the art you created.
Yes.
And you can do all your tinkering. That's your prerogative. But don't take away what everyone else spent decades connecting with.
Yeah, he
felt
got
like
upset,
he went a little
man.
crazy. Like I remember him as like he's kind of going a little nuts.
Yeah.
Like because I remember he was
People
talking
were
about
being
CGI.
mean to his ass though.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
though I don't agree with all that stuff, there was some
they were
pretty
nasty.
There was some nasty cats.
Well, but then
Oh,
you
yeah.
also laugh at it because we talk about this all the time. But the notorious South Park with Lucas and Spielberg raping stormtroopers and Indiana Jones. Metaphorically, I'm right there with them. Like that's how it felt. Like the kids in the theater in the episode, they're like, "No, why? Why are they doing this?" Because I felt to Star Wars nerds, and you watch that South Park, you're like, someone finally said it.
Yeah.
Like that's what it felt like at the time.
Well, I mean, I'd given up on Star. Like I was like, I give up. Like I don't want to watch anything else. It's like because I think, like I said, the standards are so high.
Yeah.
For me, it's like if it's not going to be perfect,
Yeah.
or if it's not going to make me feel like it's connected to the original, then I don't really want to watch it. And I've been like, there was a couple things I liked, like Rogue One. I really
Rogue One was
liked
solid. We hadn't
Rogue
talked
One.
about that. It's a good point.
Yeah, Rogue One didn't suck.
No, I know.
It was a
flip.
little confused. Some of the shit got a little bit away from the simplicity. It was like fucking hard drives and fucking all this other shit.
Yeah.
It got away from some of the simplicity in some places, but it didn't suck, and it also wasn't dealing with like very, very heavy things
No.
like that would undo. It actually fixed some
That's
things.
what I'm saying. I think that's the right point, though.
Like
It
that
didn't-
stupid ass hole in the fucking Death Star.
Well, they didn't
Yeah.
bring in a bunch of old characters and try to make us think differently about them. They gave us new characters that are sort of sort of related to or surrounding the world that we know.
Well, it's from the what I like about it when it came out was like because in A New Hope, when the lady when she was talking about the Death Star plans, and she's like,
or whatever,
lots of people died, and she had to fucking
died.
sit down and take a moment because like thinking about all the people who died to get these plans.
Did the Bothans die in Return of the Jedi?
I want to know that story.
Yeah.
What happened to those fucking people? And they did it.
Did the Bothans die in Return of the Jedi or New Hope? Because remember, there's fucking 2 Death Stars.
I think it's Jedi, isn't it?
Or in case you assholes didn't know.
No, maybe it is New Hope.
It's 2 Death Stars.
Remember, Dick Reed? Everyone's going to light us up in the comments for not knowing which original movie.
Yeah, well, there's hopefully there's some people that know more shit than we do. Because
I guarantee,
like,
no question there.
We aren't experts, but we are fucking down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, with that being said, dude, there's a lot of people that grew up with the prequels that fucking love them.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like it's not as hated as it was when
I know. I have
a
hard time wrapping my head around that, and I recognize some of that's the age and the experience with Star Wars, but it's hard for me to process that there are people who were introduced to Star Wars
that way
in that order. Like Phantom Menace was their first Star Wars movie. That doesn't seem...
I think if you're older and you kind of grew up with the trilogy and you had that big lull, you're more of the opinion of us. Yeah. And if you grew up with the... There's dudes out there that really love them, man, that absolutely fucking love them.
I want to know who those people are. I want... fucking put your comments in the thread. I will debate it all day long. It's a fun conversation. But I'm enough of an asshole that will say, objectively, those are shit movies compared to the original trilogy.
Well, I remember going to see Phantom Menace a lot, like you guys said. Yeah. But I was like, I just want to see the lightsaber battle in the end. And my buddy,
that shit was epic.
Henry Riggs, we choreographed.
Shout out to H-Bomb.
We choreographed a lightsaber battle. We'd go see it and then get home, and then we'd do like the double break the double. And I remember we choreographed this enormous fight scene in his backyard. He had this huge backyard with many levels. We're doing it and get our shirts off. We invited some girls over, thinking they're gonna think, oh, we look good. I remember we invited some girls we liked to come over and watch our fucking massive lightsaber battle.
Did y'all film it?
Oh no! But halfway through, we're looking, and they were just gone.
Yeah, you're like, we're gonna be fighting these girls.
We're like,
with
shirts
a
off,
stick.
like, and they're
it's gone. A good way to get rid of chicks.
And they're gone.
Yeah. Well, it worked out in the end.
We should have somebody that's into the prequels on here.
Love it.
So we can freeze their ass in carbonite.
Yeah.
Yeah. We won't freeze y'all.
Yeah, we'll do that at some point because we could do a whole episode just on debating the merits or the lack thereof.
Somebody loves it. Somebody knows.
I mean,
I'm glad they do, man.
Yeah, we gotta keep it alive.
Are we glad they do? I don't know that I'm glad that they like them because I worry that the more people celebrate those movies, it'll make Filoni and Favreau, and I think Kathleen Kennedy's on her way out, but I worry that they will feel more obliged to incorporate elements of those stories into new things, and I selfishly wish that everybody universally acknowledged that those were shit movies, so that none of that bullshit will seep its way into future movies and series.
If I had to fucking guess, I would say that Filoni has always loved the prequels.
Yeah.
And Favreau, I wouldn't say he dislikes them, but he doesn't seem to be like incorporating as much.
Well, let's put it this way: Favreau's clearly an amazing filmmaker.
Yes.
So just from a storytelling,
he's a bad motherfucker.
He is a good star.
I wish he had control of the sequel trilogy. Honestly,
yes, I really
hindsight's
do.
2020.
There was I don't know if it was a rumor that they were gonna make the 789 like not canon anymore, and they wanted him to.
Why the fuck not?
But I don't know. That was probably just a rumor. It was probably just fanfare going around because after Mando dropped, it was just like this guy needs to be in charge of Star Wars.
Correct.
Yeah,
I think everyone felt that way after seeing that for sure. But you mentioned this earlier, and I think you're right. I gotta believe that when Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney, that there's a clause in that contract that you cannot remake the prequels.
Sounds like some Lucas shit.
Because clearly that would be some shit that everybody would be down to see. Imagine if they gave Favreau and Filoni 3 stories in the prequels to redo it. Fuck, I want it right now.
Because when you break it down, like the prequels, the idea, it's like, okay, it's such a cool concept.
Should be the best.
The Anakin Skywalker,
dude,
Obi-Wan, and how the Emperor just kind of like, so it's like the political side of how the senator just totally bamboozled the entire galaxy and controlled it. But
it should be the best part of the whole Star Wars saga.
Man, it could be really heavy.
From that to
there's
Vader.
there's filmmakers out there can pull it off. Like, I know this is night and day, and I know the Joker's a rated R fucking murder film.
Yeah.
But I actually believed. I was like, man, I could see how this motherfucker went crazy.
Yeah, right.
I'm not sure I get.
No.
I don't have the emotional weight with fucking Anakin like rolling over to.
His reasoning was for becoming on the dark was hard.
You almost should have fucking made that pod racing little kid like make those cartoons.
Yeah.
And then start with this little kid, like start with this teenager like getting his ass whooped.
Yeah, exactly. We're
Make him he's in his room listening to fucking My Chemical Romance and having you know what I mean? Like
get a couple fucking ass whoopings, man.
You're right. It doesn't. His transition. Because that was what I was most excited about when I went to go see the prequels. I was like, I can't wait to see who Darth Vader was as a kid. I can't wait to see how someone became this villain, the greatest villain of all time.
It's like no villain, like fucking Adolf Hitler's probably a pretty decent kid. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's probably
when he was 8. You don't know when it was like.
There's probably like 2 or 3 years of his life he's delightful.
Yeah.
I don't know that as a fucking fact. I don't know that as a fact.
That's going to the out of context Twitter quote feed is referring to Adolf Hitler. There's probably 2 or 3 years he was delightful.
He was all right.
But like you get your ass whipped a few times. You go through a fucking war that may not be just, and you end up getting your ass. I mean. Get handed enough ass whoopings, and then finally your best friend whips your ass, and maybe makes love to your woman.
Yeah.
You're about to fucking shit. You're about to put on this black ass helmet and start chopping people's arms off.
Way less than that.
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. His reasoning to go the dark side is to maybe his girlfriend might die. Is like it's just not on it.
Some fucking TIE fighter road rage.
Yeah. I know. It was whatever. We could go on and on about the prequels. What do we think about Solo as a movie? Yeah.
It didn't need to be made.
Yeah.
I've watched it recently to rewatch it. It's actually not fucking egregious.
It's
not
great.
I didn't hate it, but like there's a standard.
Yeah.
Don't fucking you can't. Harrison Ford is a bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
You can't have anyone play him or play his character. Maybe make a small episode with one of these spinoffs, and since they kind of nailed this like face changing situation, what is that called now?
Deep fake.
They've kind of nailed that shit because that last Luke situation was pretty.
Well, they got that guy from the internet. He did it's the guy who did the Tom Cruise one.
Shout out to that fucking internet badass.
Yeah. That's so funny how it's like I think
he works for Disney now, doesn't he?
Yeah. He got a job. He was just a kid, just doing amazing stuff. And
I mean, good for him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you touch those.
All roads lead back to don't touch the original characters. I don't. That's where the danger spots are. Is if you start fucking with those things because you run the risk of not doing it well, and then you're left in this position of how do I remove this from my memory so I can just go back to the fun I had with this character. Like we don't have to do all of it in this episode because we could do a whole episode on it. But we've got some concerns about the Kenobi trailer. It's not. There are some things in it that seem wonky.
Yeah.
If they fucked that up,
this is big.
It's gonna be a problem.
This is a big it's kind of.
There will be riots in the
There's so many corners that you're in, man.
Well, it's a direct like I said, Mando and Boba Fett. They can kind of go off in their own world and be separate, but this is a direct correlation to A New Hope. This is a direct connection to the original trilogy, in the sense of how they make this and how the story goes is supposed to be what happens before A New Hope. It's a direct connection. So it's a very serious commitment, and I hope they treat it as
my
such.
optimism.
It's a
is
fucking minefield.
It really is.
I hope that they're going to use these kinds of stories that take place before the original trilogy as. Let's assume there is a clause that they can't remake the prequels. This is the closest they can do to doing that. We can tell stories with these characters that are beloved before the OG trilogy. And this is their first foray into really doing that. And if they just can't fuck this up.
Yeah. So I mean, it's
crazy. It's scary shit.
Yeah. In the trailer, Luke is what, like 6, 7 years old?
Yeah,
maybe?
looks like.
Yeah, he's up.
So we're looking at.
He looks young.
What, 10, 12 years before A New Hope is the timeline?
We should figure that out. I'll look it up. Since I'm on the fucking control panel.
Yeah. Get in there. Get in the database of
fucking Centurion Vulture's database.
Top of the line.
I mean, we do need a better droid. Actually, we don't have a droid, but
get one in here.
That's not the droid you're looking for.
It got lost in that last fucking dust up in fucking Corellia.
Well, I guess at this point we're just doing it, so let's just get into it. I don't understand who all the villains are that we watched in the Kenobi trailer. They're obviously not Darth Vader.
No.
As far as someone like me who just watches the movies and the other series, the narrative was always Darth Vader hunt down the remaining Jedi along with the Emperor. Yeah. And now in this trailer, there's some implication that there's this like crew of, in my opinion, generic-looking villains that could be in any fucking franchise ever that are chasing Obi-Wan down. Like I'm already hitting fucking red flags.
Well, I think they have to create villains that he could beat the shit out of, because it's obvious that Darth Vader he can't, or else it just doesn't make sense. So I'm sure they're creating these villains, and I don't know. I guess I thought I saw like it's from the animated series or something. That
probably
there's these
something.
Jedi hunters, and I swear, I don't know if I'm wrong. I swear that one character is from the movie, or I mean the video game. I
probably
played.
is. This is what I mean about all that ancillary shit. I'm not mad that it exists, but it feels like it's starting to encroach into a world where I have to take it seriously.
Well, they got to be careful. Like it's like when I saw the amount of Star Wars stuff coming out, it's like slow down a little bit.
Well, I think they have, right? Because Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron movie looks like it's maybe on the outs.
Yeah.
The Game of Thrones dudes, I think that quietly went away. Their whole trilogy, which anyone that watched the last season of Game of Thrones should be breathing a sigh of relief that those motherfuckers are not making Star Wars movies. And then Rian Johnson was supposed to have a trilogy we haven't heard anything about. In years.
It may have gone away.
Maybe to your point, CG, they're like, let's dial it back.
I think they need to slow down, because Boba Fett, I know we're kind of on a widespread
we'll get all over
topics.
Yeah.
That was a wet fart to me.
It wasn't
terrible.
No, but it wasn't great.
But Boba Fett, when they brought Boba back in Mandalorian, it was so badass. Robert Rodriguez, director, total.
I mean, he's the showrunner on the series too.
It didn't feel like the same Boba Fett. He just walked into Jabba's old palace and fucking shot. Luke was 10 years old, by the way, in the
trailer.
In that trailer, the Kenobi.
Okay.
And how old is Luke when 17?
About that, yeah. Young.
Interesting.
Young. So 7, yeah.
Too young to be hanging out of that fucking cantina.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if I'm honest about it, 17 years from episode 3 that they're working within.
Yeah.
I guess if the idea is they eventually trained up some new. Well, the problem is we have narrative in the existing trilogy that says, like, is it just so basically Alec Guinness's take on Kenobi just forgot to mention that. Yeah. Oh right, it was Vader and this whole crew that tried to get blah 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 too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it just seems like I don't want to have to contort what was said in previous movies to plug in so that I can vibe with the new shit.
Well, what they need to be careful is like Star Wars. Like, we're Star Wars fans, but there's some people out there that are like, they read everything, they see everything.
Again, you guys, if you're out there,
to heart,
hit us up.
So I'm sure, like, if we're picking up on stuff, I'm sure there's so many holes of like, well, if this happened, then how did this happen?
Yeah.
And I think they need to be careful with the amount of stuff they produce and come out with, because it gets a little confusing, and like I said, and the funny thing about Star Wars, or the good thing about it, is that it's a galaxy, so anything could be happening anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's why I thought Mando was kind of clever, because
you made that point earlier.
anything could be happening. Yeah, of course there could be other Jedi somewhere.
Correct.
In the galaxy, it's a galaxy.
I mean, there's tons of comics and video games and shit that we don't know that much about.
Well, and then we can get into this too. We could probably touch a lot of these topics and then do breakout episodes on specific things later. But I'm going to say this wrong. Rosario Dawson's character. Is it Osaka?
Ahsoka?
Whatever her fucking name is.
She's from
By the way,
animated.
the character's badass in Mandalorian. I'm into it.
Yeah, she is a badass.
And I think if they do it right, the series could be badass too. But what is her deal?
She was Anakin Skywalker's Padme.
So she's just...
not
Padawan.
Padawan. Jesus. Edit that out.
Padme's cool too,
She was Anakin Skywalker's Padawan.
So
which was out of nowhere, because they added in the animated series. So it's like, when did he have...
Y'all gonna make 3 movies and
they
not
didn't even
mention
make him
this
a
young
Jedi.
lady?
Well, I thought it was... They didn't even make him, give him a rank of master, yet he's training Jedis.
Well, and again, the whole narrative from the original trilogy is, remember Yoda on his deathbed? When gone am I, the last of the Jedi will you be? Well, either Yoda is just suddenly a fucking moron who doesn't know, didn't get the latest update on the Jedi email list, or he's just like bullshitting or strategically selective with the information.
Here's how they shoehorn that in.
Yeah.
Technically, she's not a Jedi. She kind of got mad at some people. I didn't even watch it all, but she got mad at some people and decided to not be a full-fledged Jedi.
So if the idea is she's a little disillusioned on the dogma of the Jedi,
I think so,
and goes rogue, I can get down on that. That makes sense, especially when they've got, and we'll get into this too in The Mandalorian, the whole thing with Grogu and Luke makes him choose. Like, isn't the whole narrative of the original trilogy is that Luke learns, like, the dogmatic nature of Jedi is part of their downfall. This, like, you can't have attachments or friends, and Luke kind of basically lovingly says, fuck all that noise. I'm going to rescue my friends from Cloud City. Yeah. And like, isn't that the kind of like the unspoken message of the OG trilogy is friends are good, friends help each other?
Yeah, he did some very un-Luke Skywalker
Seems
shit.
to be.
Yeah.
Luke rolls up in Mando season 2. No, not even. It's Boba Fett.
Boba Fett season something.
And it's
1.
now suddenly like this ultimatum of you either get to have a friend or you study this. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
I think people, I think the internet people are curious about that as well. Maybe it's a test.
Intentional mislead.
Maybe he is. No, maybe Luke knows what he's doing, or fuck, I don't know. Maybe that's how they just.
Do we think that they're gonna keep sprinkling this Luke shit into future seasons?
I don't know.
Like, is he gonna now become a recurring character?
I don't know. The deepfake was incredible, but it did make me feel uneasy. Like, I knew.
Yeah, same.
It looked perfect.
Yep.
But I knew it wasn't real.
Yep.
And that, to me, it was just kind of like. I liked it like the way they did it in the Mando season finale of season 2, where he's just got and he just kind of reveal at the end,
and
even though it was
the music is playing. You're
even though it was worse,
yes.
like I don't know, did they go back and fix it?
I don't know if they fixed it, but that deepfake was not that great.
It was not,
and no one even gave a fuck.
No one. That's why it was so good.
That
no one cared.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think they're at max level of
like,
Luke.
don't. That's where I'm like, don't.
Yeah.
You're messing with things.
He's my favorite character, and I love to see him, but it's tough.
They gotta cool it. He can like appear here and there very briefly, but if we go back into whole scenes with Luke where he's training people,
I don't like
it's gonna start to fall apart. And not because it doesn't technically look great, but it's like you said, we know that it's not really Hamill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's too much real world stuff to pull us away from the kids sitting Indian style at story time. Like, that's the thing, right?
You want to something feels wrong about it.
Yeah, right.
I
don't know.
It didn't freak me out as much, but it could get weird fast.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, I guess it's not that I thought it was bad, but it brought up red flags. I was like, this is okay. You just barely eked by without this getting shitty. But if you keep doing this, we're going to have a problem.
I like the sprinkle.
Yeah.
I like when they sprinkle it in. Like Luke coming in, or maybe just like the Naboo Starfighter, or like just little things like even when when they were building the Starfighter, you notice that they were looking for a part, and it was the part they used to hold the trash compactor.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's cool.
It's like anyone's like, it's
not in your face.
I like being able to point and go, oh, I know.
That's Filoni Favreau, right? It's like these dudes clearly are.
They're fucking hardcore. I did love seeing Luke put Grogu in the backpack, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool. But it's just they're treading a very dangerous ground.
It all felt like Luke to me, but I did wonder, like, you're going to make this little dude choose? Maybe it's all something.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah,
I have faith. You know what's funny? It's like I never got it. And this is Star Wars, but it's just a test to those guys. I started watching the Marvel universe, but they have it in order. Like if you go like it's Captain America, then it's like Captain and if you want, and they have, it's like he's very. The only reason why I'm mentioning is that he's very good about connecting things.
Yeah.
And it's like all these movies. You think about all the Marvel movies and all the
it's insane.
And I started watching. I'm like 5 or 6 in, and I'm like, wow, they do. I know there's a lot of movies and they came out at different times, but the timeline, like, because it's like maybe a movie came out in 2020, but it's like second on the timeline,
right?
And I'm really impressed at how well connected it is. How much it's. So I have faith in them and him for connecting things, because they've obviously got a talent for that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, at first I was like, I like Thor. Thor's my favorite, Marvel character. But I was like, those movies are whatever. But I was impressed, and not necessarily loved the movies, but I was impressed at how well that they could do this timeline and that it makes sense.
Right.
So it's kind of comforting to me to know, like, he's very good.
Yeah.
So maybe you're right. Maybe everything does mean something. And
I mean, they have the chance to. Maybe he wanted him to choose his buddies.
Yeah.
And then learn something.
Yeah.
And then come back It's, I mean, you know, it's hindsight's fucking 2020.
Side
Yeah.
note. Do we think his little, Beskar vest is an
That's a cool
intentional
vest.
nod to Lord of the Rings, or do we think they just straight ripped that? Because isn't that clearly the fucking mithril
Yeah,
shit?
I guess so. Well, I think it's funny. It's like you think it's like Beskar. It's supposed to be solid. Like, yeah. I don't know. I guess so.
It would just seem interesting of all the things they could have done that he like left for him. It was like a thing.
I wonder, like, well, what can we put on this little guy? Like, that's kind of
like somewhere. I'm wondering what
mantle.
Peter. I want to picture Peter Jackson at home when he was watching that episode for the first time. Like, I see what you did there. It's either like a
PJ.
Oh, I see what you did, or like a nice. It's one of the two.
Yeah,
it could be a nod. It's cool.
Yeah,
it was cool.
I wasn't mad at it, but it had like that behind the scenes curiosity. If it was like a filmmaker high five from Favreau to, what's his nuts, Peter Jackson.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
shit.
God, I mean, we could go all day.
I was
with
just
this
gonna
stuff.
say, I was like, we could go on for days.
Send us ideas and stuff, and like we want this to be interactive. And can y'all?
We've got big plans for this. We've got lots of ideas. We know we're going to grow this with time, but we want this to feel like a back and forth. Clearly, there's no shortage of Star Wars fans. Light us up. Questions, comments, suggestions. Tell us we're fucking idiots. All of the above is good shit. And we've got other ideas that we'll roll out in future episodes. Give us topic ideas. If there are things you guys want to hear us talk about, by all means, don't be shy. The obligatory thing that everyone does in the 21st century, which is subscribe, like, all those things. I'm now officially the guy who is saying that, and I'm usually making fun of people for doing it. So, what does everybody say? Smash that like button.
Smash it.
Don't forget to subscribe if you want to stay up to speed. You can download the audio for a podcast. You can, of course, watch the web series episodes at the moment on YouTube, and we'll keep everyone posted. But we're going to do this on a regular basis. So,
if you got any ideas.
Yes, this is a back and forth. We're getting a community together of Star Wars lovers who love to hate it and hate to love it.
Yeah, just three jackasses talking Star Wars.
If you're pissed about something, let us know. If you love something, if we piss you off, let us know. We want to talk about it because there's so much to this universe. There's so much going on. There's so much coming.
I know,
we
much
got
coming.
Obi-Wan coming out in May. We're going to be excited about that. We'll be talking about that.
Amen.
I think we'll have more precise episodes.
Correct.
What you want to hear is what we want to talk about. And
Amen.
Thanks for hopping in to the Centurion Vulture with us.
Yeah.
We'll be modifying this sucker. Curtis is always working on it. We'll try to get some droids.
Curtis Wayne at the helm.
Speaking of which, guys, something very large just jumped out of hyperspace. I'm not sure what the fuck this is.
Oh, Jesus.
All right, y'all. We might need to boogie.
All right. We out.
Later.
All right, y'all.